fact that like the people bugging out today are probably not the people on this call, but I think that that's a good thing. Because like, I don't know, I feel great about today. Like I think that really great things happened today and everyone seems to be freaking out. And so I think that that means that we need to, consolidate the narrative, like kind of reclaim it, dispel misinformation and move forward from here. Because I think that honestly, like we are in the best place that we have been thus far. So like, just real quick about what happened today. We opened the bonds and we took in almost 8%, if not more than 8% of the pool in one day. It was like $300,000 worth LP. That liquidity is now locked. So the protocol now owns, including what's in the DAO, owns more than half the pool. So, in the past 2 days, we've had a couple people unwinding, and that has decreased the liquidity, which, I'm sure has been concerning to people. It's good though, in that like we're kind of at a point where like it can't decrease that much more. They're like, I do think that this is probably going to serve as a base, and that's a good thing. If you were here, 2 weeks ago, I basically called this entire saga. I said that this would happen, and it did happen. It's not the end of the world. I just wanted to avoid the pain, basically. But we got a lot of people in at a high price that, can't see 5 feet in front of them, expected to go from $1,000 to $10,000, and, clearly had never made read or made the effort to learn how this works, because that's not how this works. And like, if you were one of those people, like, I'm sorry, I don't think that it's the end of the world. But you need to expand your time horizon. You need to be looking further than tomorrow. Like, that is the key here. Like the whole sustainable element of this is that we spread out supply expansion over a longer period of time than something like Ampleforth or ESD, where, supply is going up 3, 4, 5% a day. That is unsustainable. That is when you get just bubbles that pop and never unpop. I don't think that that's the case here, but it also means that your balance is not going to go up multiple percent. Actually, I mean, it's going up like 2% per day, but it's not going to go up 10% per day to offset a sell-off, in the immediate term. Like basically what we're seeing right now is -3 playing out. Like, this is the game theory of -3 is that when people start thinking, oh, everyone else is going to sell, I better beat them to it, you make it happen. You manifest it in the real world, because by selling, you bring the price down, and then someone else who is on the edge is going to sell as well. And it, spirals into everyone selling. That this is what we need to stem. This is the whole point of 3-3 is, you can't have that mentality, and it requires a longer term time horizon. Like, this is why I say that price doesn't matter. Like, you shouldn't be looking at the price and be like, oh yay, because it's going to come down too. Like, that's just the reality of it. But I really feel like we are in the strongest position that we have been so far. So basically, with the bonds and the fact that the bonds just launched successfully, they did what they're supposed to do. And I think that, the only tuning that we have to do going forward is now bring down the floor on the bonds. We have to set it at a higher point initially, because those first bonds that get in are going to get like the minimum price. And if that were, 1, then they would be getting par value of like $30. That's not a good thing. But now we can lower that, but like everything else is pretty much set in stone. So, I am sorry that things keep changing. I don't like it, but like, things have required adjustment. You can read the post on realigning incentives to read about that. Like, we basically now have staking and LP staking yielding almost the same amount. I think LPs earn slightly less, which makes sense, because as an LP, you actually have a better risk to reward profile. Your upside is muted, but so is your downside. Impermanent loss is not actually a thing. You just have like downside because price went down, just like if you were holding spot. But you take less of a drawdown in LP than you would staking. So it makes sense that they are slightly more compensated for that. But they're almost in lockstep. You know, I think they're different by a factor of 0.5% in a 5-day period. Bonds are yielding more, or they were when the debt ratio was lower, but now the debt ratio is at the target amount. And so we don't want to bring any more bonds on. And so now they don't make sense to do. You know, that is by design. But we brought in 8% of the pool today. You know, that's a lot of liquidity. And that's on the first day, you know, so these are going to keep rolling over. It's going to keep making room. More bonds are going to be able to get in. And, you know, now we accumulate liquidity, but it takes time. You know, all of this just takes time on purpose because you don't want to, like, I feel like we blew our load right at the start. And now we're dealing with the aftermath of that, which, you know, I really tried to avoid because, like, you know, it is basic psychology that people, you know, get fixated on the short-term price and they get euphoric when it goes up and they panic when it goes down. It's just basic human nature, right? Like what I wanted was to just kind of build a base and just like chill in that base. You know, basically we should pick a number basically, and that is our target price. When it goes above that, you should actually sell. You know, you want to bring it down. When it goes below that, you should buy back. You know, trade some range. I think I've seen really good ideas thrown out about, you know, tying that to expected yield, where, you know, you can basically pinpoint a price based on, like, you know, if you were to do a year from now, like, you could buy, you know, if we were to sustain the current APY, you could buy at $1,271, and if price were to be at $1 a year from now, you would be at break even. In reality, I would expect, you know, even if we really like decrease in price, I don't think that it's going to go all the way back down to 1. You know, I think that there will still be some premium of maybe, you know, $3, $4, $5 to like $10. Like, you know, I think it's unrealistic that we're ever going to like actually go to $1, if not at a very large supply. And so you can take that number of like 1,271, and you can multiply it by, you know, what you expect the price to be. You know, if that's $5, then that actual target would be $7,000. I'm not saying in this that we should trade at $7,000, but I am saying that you can make these things relative based on future earnings. You know, treat it like a stock. This is a yield producing asset. You know, there are ways to value it, and you can do so. Like, for example, we have enough rewards right now to sustain the current 127,000% APY for like 2.5 or 3 months. You know, as bonds roll over, that number will increase. So you can, like, in the announcements, I put the wallets, because supply increased a lot today because bonds minted new ohm for staking. You know, which is like 12,500 new ohm. That's going to get dripped in at the same rate that it is right now. You know, what we want to do is basically build up that wallet as much as possible so we can say, look, there are 6 months worth of rewards at this rate in this wallet. You know, they're not going anywhere. You can feel confident that they're going to stick around. You know, that is the key. You know, what we need is stability, predictability, and confidence. You know, I think that I have undermined that to a certain degree by changing things. Sorry, I do think that they needed to be changed, but what we have right now, I think we can set in stone, basically. The only things that might change are, I already said, the minimum premium we will, you know, slowly bring down. And then the LP staking rewards we will maybe bring down, although I like the point that they're at right now, and basically they're just going to become less significant as supply goes up. So I think that even with that, we can just leave it how it is, and it'll kind of like make itself irrelevant over time. Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling really good. So what I want to do is I'm going to write up some new articles and materials that kind of explain things better. You know, I think that we need to consolidate what is going on here, really help people understand how this works, because there's clearly an information gap that was kind of intentional in that I thought that it would keep people out. And that's what I wanted, was don't get in now. You can look at like all of the documents and it says, if you don't understand this, if you don't get it, if you have a short-term time horizon, don't get in. You know, and it didn't work. I forgot or misunderestimated the fact that everyone's a fucking ape and they just jump into things. It's not the end of the world, though. We're like, really, I think that we're still at a really good point. What I would like to see is kind of build a base, and then, you know, we can basically just let the protocol do what it's designed to do. Like it's not designed to have the price go up. It's not designed to pump. It's designed in an ideal scenario that the price never moves and everyone is just yielding based off staking reward. And by getting a discount on the bonds, that is the design. It's all about your balance and not about the price. So with that, I'm gonna read some of these questions. Here, wait 1 second. So I'm gonna read some of these questions. Yeah, so I'm gonna read some of these questions, and kind of like, I think that there's a good amount of FAQs now that like I can write some materials to really consolidate like how this works, because I think the article I put out yesterday or today was in the right step with the bonds. We need to explain that with the staking, and then kind of how they all work together, what you should be thinking about as someone like looking to get in here or already in. I really just see it as a information gap and a misunderstanding gap. It's not that people are wrong, they just don't understand why they are right or wrong, if that makes sense. So let's go through this. How much liquidity are we aiming for before turning off LP rewards? I would like to get it above 10 million. It was almost there, and then we had a couple of like whales unwind, which is really frustrating to me because those whales pushed the price way up and then have now pushed it way down. Like, you can basically pinpoint it to like a couple people that have created this entire like pump and dump chart action, which is frustrating because it's exactly what I didn't want. Like, I wish we had just opened at like 300, sat at 300, everyone would be happy. Like it's way worse if you're going to push the price up, if you're going to push it back down, if you're going to do it, like stick to it. So, I mean, it's fine. We're going to deal with it. It's not the end of the world. You can basically, I think that a really good comparison is to look at Frax. The Frax shares, they basically have the exact same chart as we do. The exact same thing happened to them. This is just the nature of crypto, I guess. So, I mean, 10 million would be good, but I think that we'll just leave it at the current reward rate, and it'll just like kind of decrease as the liquidity goes up. Okay, is there dilution happening for stakers? If so, how long and impactful will it be? I laid it out in general, but there has been some amount of dilution, but it's pretty insignificant. I think it's by a factor of like 0.1% or something. So, supply has gone up by 11.1% or something, and stakers have gone up by 10.9%. Don't quote me on those numbers. You can look at the post, and I'll bump it down later. But like, there is a tiny bit because of the LP rewards, but it's not that significant. And with the staking rewards that we have now just accrued today, I'm pretty sure that it more than corrects that. But I mean, even like 0.1% dilution, I don't think is anything to really freak out about. I think that what that was coming from, and that like misunderstanding, was people seeing the supply increase, but not understanding that most of that supply is locked and waiting to get dripped into staking. It was either of the supply increase today, I think it increased by 15,000, and we had 12,500 go to the wallet that will go to stakers, and another 1,500 or 1,800 go to the DAO, and then the remaining like 750 goes to the state or to the bonders. So that's not that significant. It's just a misunderstanding gap, and that one guy was like really fudding, which was just annoying. Like 25% dilution. Like, no, that's fucking wrong. What determines what the rebase is? Where can I see on chain the upcoming rebase is based off of? You can look in announcements. I put the okay, it's not. I will add it to that list because it doesn't have any But right now we are dripping DAI in. That DAI, basically we have it set to 0.44% supply increase per epoch. And with all of that going to stakers. So that is the reward rate. That is consistent at 0.44% per epoch, and so it results in a consistent APY. Instead of if it was a set number per epoch, then every epoch APY would go down because 100 divided by 10,000 is 1%. 100 divided by 10,100 is a little bit less than 1%. We don't have that. It's consistent with the amount of supply. And it actually increased a lot today because the bonds increased supply. So you may have noticed APY is like double what it was yesterday. That's actually something that, I finally got the scatter shot working. So I'm going to start doing things on forum and voting finally. I'm so happy for that because I fucking hate the state that we've been in. But that's something that I'm thinking about proposing is, should we lower that back down a little? I think that it might be a little excessive. For now, we're going to leave it because I don't want to change anything. But that could be a good idea. Maybe until we've built up like 4 or 5 months worth of rewards, and then we can think about increasing it. How much of the new ohm will be put out over what time period? That should have explained that. How much to ohm to bonds per day? It depends on the price and the premium, but for right now, the minimum premium is 20. So for every 1 ohm that goes to bonders, 19 goes to stakers in the DAO. In what capacity have strategic advisors been advising the project? Have they been providing any feedback that the team plans to take actions on? Yes, we had a meeting yesterday that was super productive. Had a couple of ideas for, one of them is like to make a leaderboard, which I think would just be kind of fun, where, it would have like the longest wallet staked, the most bonded off of each wallet, like net inflow to staking, longest amount of liquidity provided in the pool too, things like that. And then you could use your wallet to sign in and add your Discord name and kind of have bragging rights. I think that would be fun. I'm looking into setting that up. Another one is that I talked about them, which, many of them have done today, using their P-Ollie to provide liquidity. Several of them did it. I think that they're awesome for that. You guys should really be cheering them on. There's been this Momo investor fund. They are awesome, dude. Find other investors on projects that have supported a project to this degree. They are actually amazing, and they should really be getting recognition for that. I see that the supply expansion is happening at a faster rate. Hopefully I've explained how that happened. But I mean, this is a good thing because what we want to do is increase supply. That is now occurring, and that's really awesome. I posted the treasury contract, but where was the DAI coming from before? We had leftover DAI from the pre-sale that has been getting dripped in. I will post that address as well. That's what's been giving the rewards out thus far. I think there's 12,500 DAI still in there that will result in another 12,500 ohm. So basically, we're going to continue to use that contract for staking rewards until it runs out of money, and then we will move to the other one that already has the ohm. So I'm hoping to see, I think that there's 2 weeks or so worth of rewards in that DAI one. And by the time we transition to the other one, I would like to see, 30, 40,000 ohm in there. I think that would be good to see. Bonding page on mobile is not sized correctly. Can't see anything. Jaw, get on it, sir. Jaw and Jeff. Should we consider keeping the liquidity provider incentives? Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to keep it because it just takes time for the bonds to really swallow up the liquidity. But over time they will, we can think about decreasing the LP incentives, but I do think that there's value to having some amount of pool 2 incentives of I think that the comparison that I made in that changing and fixing the yields post is really accurate of pool 2 is paying with the credit card, whereas bonds are paying with the debit card. When you pay with a debit card, you have to spend a little bit more up front, but you thank yourself because with the credit card, you get the bill and you're paying all this interest. But there's still a time and a place to use a credit card. It's just about not using it always and being able to pay off that debt before it's an issue. Hopefully that analogy makes sense. We'll leave it on in some degree just to as a little boost. Can we get a general post-mortem of the past few days? Yeah, I mean, hopefully I've addressed that already, but there has been a lot of dial tuning, but I think we're done. Basically, we just had to, it's, difficult to transition from models and theories into reality. That has been the transition, and the dial tuning is, going from, oh, I thought that this would happen and incentives would be like this, but instead they've been like this. And so now we need to adjust things so that they're back in line with what we want. And so I think that we're there now, which is good and makes me feel very relieved. Have people been on staking in between the reward block to LP and then returning to stake when the next reward block is getting near the rebase? I don't think that it's that prevalent anymore. I think that there was that one guy that was doing it. We're looking at switching up the staking contract, just because I took this initial route of oh, we should give a whole bunch of flexibility and let people do what they want to, and they'll appreciate that you have the ability to pull whenever you want to with the bonds or the staking or whatever. That has proved to probably be a mistake, and so we will probably change that contract or the staking setup. That's not going to be something that we do out of the blue, especially with the scattershot now set up. We can do that as a vote. We can really debate it as a community. We can figure out what the best way to handle it is, and then we can migrate contracts. So yeah, I'm super excited to pass most of these decision-making processes off to all of you and become only a contributor and a voice among other voices. I don't I think that what has these changes and stuff, quick adjustments have been necessary so far, but now we're at a point where we can kind of take our time with deciding things. Okay, Zeus, can you go over your view on how the flywheel gets restarted if the price eventually goes back to $1? I don't think that it eventually goes down to $1, especially not soon. Price going back to $1 right now would mean that our market cap is $90,000. That's pretty unfucking realistic, in my opinion. We basically I think that this will probably serve as a base, and what I would like to see is a nice accumulation in this range, and then maybe we can kick it up to a little higher, but we need to get all this supply sorted out because there's a lot of weak hands in right now, and you can't have weak hands in. The moon boys cannot stay, 3-3 or die. You just need to have that longer time horizon. I really think that Bitcoin is maybe that's conceited of me to say it, but I think that Bitcoin is the closest comparison that you can have here. And imagine buying Bitcoin in 2011 and freaking out because it went from $1,000 back to $200. Oh, this is a scam. I better get out. I'm gonna lose all my money. That's not what happened. It's just that you get too many. You go up too quickly. Too many people make money. Other people buy the top. They start freaking out, and then the momentum that you had on the upside reverses to the downside. The whole design here is meant to reduce the role of momentum as much as possible. So we don't want momentum. What we want is a steady increase in balances and no increase in price, no decrease in price, just a steady price, because momentum is the killer of markets. It's a really great, wealth creator on the upside, but especially in crypto, which is hyper volatile and really not tied to anything except day-to-day sentiment and demand. It just produces a lot of pain that's just not good. So just I don't know, I think that this can become some kind of new meme of picking some number out of a hat and this is the fair value, and we all kind of realize that it's meaningless, but just picking them oh, it's above this point, better sell, it's above or below this point, better buy, just hold it at some level. Because the balances are just steady increasing, you can just, it's the equivalent of price going up 2% every day if we just have a static price. Liquidity is really important here, and that's why I've been making this push for liquidity, is that it's a lot easier to not have the price move if there's a liquid market. But a lot of that also comes down to as a community how we treat movements in price. We shouldn't be cheering on pumps, just like we shouldn't be freaking out on dumps. It's got to just be
like I don't give a fuck about the price. Like it's irrelevant to me. I think that like changing the staking dynamics might help in that regard. But we can talk about that later. Yeah, so I already said this, but Joss was like, we should push the valuation metric that someone was talking about the other day. This goes along with that, like basically we can use yield to figure out an expected value. And then, as a community, just kind of rally around that value and like, this is what it should be at. Would I also say that price does not matter for people who entered at 1,000 USD per ohm? Like, yes, it applies to everyone. Like, if you have a longer term time horizon, I really be okay. It's not the end of the world. Just like if you bought Bitcoin at $1,000 in 2013, you'd be perfectly fine today. It's just that you're not going to maybe be fine today. It's a matter of time frame. It's a matter of thinking. Like everyone wants the 10x in a day. And that is the worst mentality to possibly have in a market because it results in a 1x in a day and then a negative 80% decline, because it's never going to actually get to where everyone wants it to. And then it's going to go way deeper because now everyone's expectations have been crushed and they're going to sell the lows. It's -3, -3, 3 is not supposed to be like buy. It's supposed to be take a stake, determine what you want your stake to be. Don't over leverage yourself, like do something that you can hold on to comfortably for a long time, stake that in and forget about it. If you over leverage on the upside and then deleverage on the downside, you just accentuate like this rapid up and down movements that are just like unhealthy and just cause a lot of like stress, man. At least for your mental health, like save yourself from that, Okay. Yeah, don't discuss in here. Come on. Someone made a Dune Analytics dashboard. Check that out. It's awesome. Thank you for doing so. I'm bad with remembering names, but I want to give you credit because that was awesome of you to do. Shadow. Thank you, Shadow. That was really awesome of you. I love the amount of contribution and like, you guys are so excited and like chipping in. It's awesome. I really like appreciate it. I love it. It makes me like super bullish about this just because like you guys are our moat. You guys are why this is going to work is that like at the core, like I really do think that y'all understand. It's just a matter of we need to translate that to everyone else. We had too many people coming in that didn't take the time to learn and there wasn't enough resources for them to learn that was put in language that they could understand. So I'm going to work a lot on, education, putting together materials. If anyone else can help me with that and kind of like put it into your own words and like, you can just like send it to me and be like, is this accurate? And I'll be like, yeah, this is good. This is not, like whatever. I'm happy to do that. And I would really appreciate it because, I hope that I'm doing better now, but like there are just things where like I make it more complicated than it needs to be. I don't like really realize it, and I'm sorry for that. Like, it's tough, man. It's tough. Yeah. So what else we got? When gold standard. I'm waiting for some kind of like trustless Bitcoin bridge. Like that's really what I want to see on Ethereum, because I just don't want to use like Wrap Bitcoin or Ren Bitcoin, which are like centralized. They have a single entity. In the case of Wrap Bitcoin, it's BitGo. In the case of Ren, like the Ren Foundation holds like or controls like 90% of the nodes. Like that's not trustless. It's the kind of thing that becomes dangerous for us at a certain scale. So like maybe we could do it right now, but if we build up too much of that, it's kind of impossible to unwind and like would be bad because, if I'm not going to go into like why that would be bad. Hopefully you can see why that would be bad at scale. When is the sales contract going live? I want to expedite that actually. So I'm hoping that we can push that with a migration of, we need to migrate the treasury to, I want to add new
USD collateral types. So like we could partner with like Frax, or we could partner with Faye if Faye works out, to add new pools, and use their tokens as the other side of that pool. That'll require a migration. If we were to change the staking contract to add some kind of lock, that'll require a migration. We should probably just do these all at once, so we can, really hash it out as a community, figure out what the plan is, figure out what we want to do, what we don't want to do, set a date that's pretty far in advance so that everyone is on the same page, and then we'll do that. Do you think Jaw has COVID? No, but I also don't think that you should be bugging out about it as much as. Will the DAO SLP pool be deployed into Onsen, and are there plans to do the same with other popular farming protocols? That's something I was thinking about. We were talking about it last night. I want to put that up for vote because I don't really know what to do there. But I think it would be great to start accumulating sushi. That's kind of one of the reasons that we started on sushi in the first place, is for those Onsen rewards. I do want to talk to them to make sure that they are okay with us doing so. Because they could look at it like, we're just like, they're just like paying us, and that's bad. But like, it's not going to like anyone except for the DAO. We could even put them into the treasury. Yeah. How feasible is it to mint new Ohm utilizing the LP tokens that users bond to the protocol? Doesn't it imply that the reserve asset will have to expand to include more than just DAI? I don't think I understand that one. Basically, if you read the bond post, it explains how we can use LP shares to back tokens. We can basically give the LP share a minimum DAI value, and then treat it as worth that value. So like right now, the intrinsic value of Ohm is probably, actually, let's see, I can figure it out. It's like divided by 90,000. The intrinsic value is like $4.50 or something. It's not $1 because that LP share is worth way more than the treasury values that. So I mean that's cool. If we were to put the LP from the DAO in there, then it becomes, the intrinsic value becomes like, these are like rough numbers, so like don't take them too seriously, but it would be closer to $13, $13 or $14. Like basically the actual intrinsic value actually goes up and down with price because we're using those LP shares. It's just that it values it in terms of what it mints, at the minimum value. And so it's safe. It knows worst comes to worst, I have at least this amount of money to back the tokens that I've minted against it. But anytime that the pool is not $1, it's actually way more. So that's pretty cool. Any thoughts on using the DAO acting as a quasi-urn vault to collect bonded LP farming rewards, pass them on to users as S-Home to save on gas? So I will have to come back to that, and I'll talk to you like after this, Luxafy, because these are good questions. I have batted around like, like what do we do with the LP and the DAO? Just because like I don't really want to like, lump sum them all into new Ohm. Just like bump up supply for no reason. We could like do that and it would produce like 75,000 or 80,000 Ohm, and then like stick that into the staking contract. For now, I think it'd be better to deploy them into sushi. That would probably be the right route. But like, I don't know. I'll talk to you because that's a cool idea. Why not keep central control till all pieces are in place? I don't want that. It's not supposed to be. We need the pieces in place, but like, basically, we can move to a much more community-driven approach of like, I see myself as the DAO executor. So I'm executing things on behalf of all of you, not making decisions by myself, and I don't want to make those decisions. So that's like, that I would like to make things much more like poll driven and like voting driven. I'm not G17. I'm not going to give like price predictions, dude. Like, decide whether or not you believe in the protocol and what it's doing, and then like let it grow. That's like asking someone like to like asking someone to predict the price of Bitcoin in 30 days, you know, like, I don't know. I do know that we have enough rewards lined up to sustain this 120,000% APY for the next month. I can tell you that, but I don't know what the true market cap is, you know, like that's what the market is here to like find out. And it comes down to how you guys behave, how you participate. Yeah, you know, like I can't control these things. Like I wish I could. Probably never would have gone up to $1,000 if I could control the market. I like basically fudded us 2 weeks ago to try and prevent it. But it is what it is, and I don't think that it is in the world. Like if this works anyway, like it's expected to and intended to, you're gonna be fine. You know, that's not a guarantee, but you know, neither is anything. Basically, like the bet though is on the protocol working as expected and not on a specific market cap, you know? Like hopefully that makes sense. Like I'm really trying to stay away from like giving price predictions, saying fair value, because I have no idea and neither do you. That is the if everyone knew what the fair market value would be, we would be at that value. That's the thing, you know? Like all of the profit potential in a market comes from the fact that no one ever knows that. And so the market is constantly trying to figure out what that value is. You know, and sometimes it overshoots it. Okay, I'm new on this channel. Cool. Do you have any plans to attract more holders? Like, I'm not really like trying to push you guys out there to like go like multi-level marketing, like recruit people. You know, what I want is education and understanding. So, you know, expose people to it, but make sure that they understand what it is, how it works, because that's the only thing that's the only way that this really works. You know, it is more harmful for us, I think, to have 1,000 moon boys get in than it is for 10 long-term holders. You know, because those 1,000 moon boys are going to sell the second things go south. You know, you're seeing it right now. And it makes things worse because it makes the people who are long-term holders start to doubt themselves. You know, recruit people who are good participants, community members, know what they're doing. And like, you know, take the stance that I have been, which is actively discouraging people from getting in until they understand why they're getting in and how it works. What would happen if we accelerate the move to a basket of assets instead of just DAI? For example, DAI and ETH backing home with a higher price floor. I've thought about it. It's something that we can do with that migration. You know, basically, I've already written up the treasury contract that'll like, you know, we'll use for that migration. And it'll let us change the reserve asset to that basket, which will be cool. So, you know, we could talk about doing that with the migration. I think that it would probably be a good thing to do. The only concern is that when we do so, so now we have an index token backing home, and we need to trade against that index token. And that means that we need to build up liquidity with that index token against DAI, against ETH, against whatever assets are in there, right? So we now have new markets that we need to incentivize liquidity on and build up liquidity with. If you can't tell, you know, we're not doing amazing in terms of liquidity that we have right now. So I don't think that it's probably the best move right now. But it will be. I really feel super good about the bonds. You know, it's just going to take a little time for them to build up. But like, I think that we're going to get to a point where I think it should work kind of like the halving does with Bitcoin, where you have a supply decrease and it doesn't hit the market immediately, right? It takes some time for the market to really realize that there is less supply being put in every single day. Once that happens, though, you know, the lid is kind of off. I'm not saying that that's going to make price go up, but I do think that it's going to, like, the lid will go off in terms of liquidity, where now liquidity has a literal floor that it like just can't decrease lower than, and that creates confidence with other liquidity providers, because you can look and be like, okay, no one's going to rug pull me here. No one's going to just pull out the liquidity and I'm the last guy and everyone's going to sell against me and I'm going to end up with the token and no DAI. You know, that as a liquidity provider, that is your worst nightmare. The bonds help to instill that confidence of the person that, like, if that were to happen, the person that's being the fall guy is going to be the protocol and not you. And because of that, more people are going to get in, which means that scenario never really plays out. It's liquidity brings in more liquidity, brings in more liquidity, it's a nice virtuous cycle. It works on the downside, which is what we've been seeing the past 2 days. But if you have an entity like the protocol that is never going to pull, then you can only have that like deleveraging for so long before it literally just can't happen anymore. And I think that we're pretty much at that point. If not, like maybe there's a little bit more liquidity that could conceivably pull out. But like, as I said earlier, more than half the pool is now owned by the protocol, and it's not going anywhere. So like as an LP, you can feel confident in like you're not left holding the bag. Okay, but you raised at 50 million. Like no, we didn't. Like the terms of the raise were weird. It's also like not really any like business of the public in that our investors are not selling. But okay, so if you invest, so they invested 2.5 months ago, right? The pitch that I made was this is a long-term investment. This is something that you should be thinking about in terms of years and not in terms of months. 2.5 months later, some of them were up, some of them were close to it. But I mean, that doesn't mean that that's the fair value at this moment in time, if that makes sense, right? Like I'm going to keep using Bitcoin as an example. The fair value of Bitcoin 5 years ago was not $1 trillion. Today it might be. 5 years ago it wasn't. These take time. Like it's literally just time. It's all about time. It's just letting the clock tick. Like it's the hardest thing I know because DeFi moves so fast that you think that a day is like the entire, like everything, but it's not. You just got to be patient. What are the plans for integrating layer 2? I'm looking at Optimism. ZK rollups are also interesting. I don't have too much plans in that regard right now. But it is something that we can explore in the future. Yeah, I don't know where these like $50 million numbers are. See, it's impossible to figure out what the raise was. That's the thing. Like, that's why y'all gotta have a fucking respect for these investors, because with the P-Ollie, the fact that it's worth $1 less than Ohm, or the P-Ohm worth $1 less than Ohm, it makes it so that it's like kind of impossible to value in terms of like projections, because you have to be able to calculate both supply and price. It's not a function of market cap, really. I mean, it's like a derivative of market cap, but you have those two unknowns, and without both of them, you can't like figure out where you're going to be. So it was a bet on the vision of the project and not on, oh, this thing can go higher than this market cap. Like if the vision of this plays out, like you're not going to care what the market cap is. Like, yeah, I mean, Crypty Lucy, if you found something in the code, you can say here, or like PM me if it's anything. Appreciate a PM because we can fix it without like someone taking advantage of it. That would be fantastic. But if you did find anything, like, please let me know ASAP. Yeah, I mean, security is always of the utmost important. I feel super confident about our contracts. I've showed them to many people. They've all checked off. The audit is moving along well. We got a bunch of things back from them yesterday, and they were pretty much all just like, oh, you don't need this variable. Like, you could have done this math a little bit more efficiently. Like, things like that are just like, okay, we can improve these, but like nothing where it's like someone is going to use this to like exploit the minter or like steal the treasury funds. None of that was in there, which is fantastic. And, I wouldn't have rolled things out if I expected that was a possibility. But yeah, so I mean, that's good. But, please let me know whatever you found. Yeah. Okay, anyone else have any questions before we wrap it up? Has this helped? Are we on the same page? Yeah, Tetra is still here, dude. He just he was overexposed, I think. Like, I don't really know, but I would imagine that he had a large position and he just realized, like, sometimes you just gotta like deleverage, like, it makes sense. I do think that he sold some, but like I don't think that he sold his entire stack, and he's out here like fuck Olympus, like, you know. What does that mean, Bonderos? Yeah, I mean, also just like don't fixate on what the whales are doing. You know, like they're just people. You know, like yeah, don't validate your investment on others. Exactly. Thank you, Adam. You know, make your own conviction and stick to it. What's the latest on working with Rari? That would be something that we roll out with the do I drop alpha? I mean, in terms of like what y'all know, that would be rolled out with like the whole migration, but we are looking into a fuse pool. I will say that much. I'm not gonna really like say the implications of that, but it's really, really cool. Like I'm super excited about the fuse pool. Like, yeah. How close to migration? That happens on Sunday, and I need to finalize things. But I think that we will have information about what we want to do there. I mean, dude, I think that the long-term value of this is huge, but we're not going to get there in one day. Like Greece was not built in a day. You know, can we make that a meme? Like, please, like Greece was not built in a day, guys. Partnership with Gerard Butler, hell yeah, let's do it. Yeah, but I mean, let me ask something to you guys though. Yeah, either like write up some materials and share them, and we can like edit them together. And like, Rome wasn't built in a day. That's awesome. Like, you know, if you want to write something up, and we can like, you know, put it like I can make sure that the information is accurate, or I'm gonna do it myself. But like, you know, let's just get on like an information grind. You know, like an education grind. Like really just be making effort to like not shill, but just educate. You know, like, hey, we're doing this over here. This is pretty cool. I believe in it because of this. Not come buy the bag because it's going to go up in price. You know, hopefully you can see the two, the difference between the two. You know, so let me check like general and see if there's anything in there, because I know there's a bunch of mentions for me. Yeah, like. Yo, stop fixating on price, please. Yeah, what's going on with 1-1? 1-1's going well, man, and like I don't know, I'm excited to see like the 1-1 to 2-2 to, or 1-1 to 3-3 to 1-1 to 1-1 to 3-3, like, you know, like all these different like combos, you know. I think that it's gonna be cool. Because there's a lot of different strategies that you can run, especially with a fuse pool. Like, you know, maybe that's a little bit over some of your heads, but like imagine like being able to borrow in short with that. I don't know, like you can turn it into like a cash and carry, and then pair that with like staking and like all these things that I think are going to be awesome. So excited about that. Hopefully we make that happen. I think we will, but it comes down to we got to like petition the RGT holders to make it happen, and so, you know, hopefully you guys can support us with that. Don't have to fixate on price. Why does that mean that we need to fixate on price? Like, yeah, like really, that is the mentality that will ensure that you never recoup your investment. Honestly, you know, if you think that way, if everyone were to think that way, we're fucked. Really, like you got to have a larger vision than, ooh, the price went up, you know, because like, yeah, when is AOM adopting the gold standard? Soon, baby, soon. I'm stoked about AOM too. Like, I'm excited to like share information with that, because that'll be cool. Yeah, so I think I gotta check the block, and then I will put that in announcements, because there is just like a block at which those are reclaimable. Another thing that I want to do is put up a snapshot to ask you guys if we want to add liquidity incentives for AOM own pool. That could be cool. Otherwise, I don't really know if AOM is going to trade. I don't think that that's really a bad thing, but you know, maybe you guys want to be able to trade the AOM. If that's the case, then like we can do that. Okay, so I mean, we'll put it up for a snapshot, and we'll figure out how much we want to allocate towards that. Like, you know, hash out these numbers. And I can kick that off with a proposal. See, dude, I feel like it is possible the whole thing again, but see, I don't care what AOM does. That's the thing. Like OM, I care about how it performs in terms of like an asset. With AOM, like it can do whatever it wants to, and we can just like laugh about it, like haha, like meme coin, like go up and down, like I don't know. That'll be interesting. I have no idea what's going to happen there, but I do think that the plan that we have for it is pretty exciting. Yeah, I know you're joking. I'm joking as well. Like, yeah, I have no idea. Do you like? Please know that I have no idea what the market does. Staking rewards when distributed, they get dripped out as 0.44% of supply every single epoch. When again do we get our AOM? It's on Sunday. I will put the block at which it can occur after on the website. I will upload this to SoundCloud. Correct. We got Craig in the chat. He's recording. Someone called me out yesterday, I think, for the fact that Craig actually does all the work around here. I'm just like a LARP. Shout out Craig. Craig is based as hell. Like he's just grinding all the time. I want to see if I can change Craig's nickname to Craig33. Yeah, I can. Nice. Craig is now an OMI. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate that. ASMR video. I don't know. We could do it, man. Make a video and give me some lyrics to, or like not lyrics, but like things to say over, and I'll do it. And I'll do it in a nice whisper. Nice ASMR. Tickle your earlobes a little bit. Yeah, man, that's the thing. I'm sorry that the video throughout all this, you know, it's been a weird period. I do think that we're gonna come out of it and like, you know, we're gonna be like way better off. But ooh, so it might be time. Okay. I have a long-term vision post that I literally wrote in like September. And it is the exact same long-term vision that we have today. And I think I'll put it out because I think that it accentuates what the long-term vision is pretty well. And it's been the vision for a while, you know, like the details may change, but the vision does not. The vision is intact. The vision is occurring. I feel super good about the vision. You know, it's just going to take time. Rome wasn't built in a day. Thank you, Dan. Yeah. So I'll focus on getting that. I think that would be good. Like I really like that's what we need to be rallying around. You know, like what we're building and not where we're at right now. You know. So I'm gonna close it off. It's been around an hour. Whoever, let me look in tunes. Shout out Theseus. Can you hit the aux again? Because you were killing it before, dude. Yeah, so I'm gonna close off, and you know, thank you all for coming. I love you all. Like, oh, dude, I'm blown away by all of you. Like, I really hope that you guys know that. Like, you guys have exceeded my wildest dreams in terms of like support and enthusiasm for this project. And I don't know. I'm working to like, you know, make you guys proud, you know, like I really like appreciate you guys and I want you to appreciate me, I guess. So yeah, I'm gonna sign off, but thank you all for coming. Wait, hold up. I gotta listen to the music.